Well, I got the cleanup done. Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Going to begin assembling the garage door opener so that I can get a measurement off of where it's going to locate up on the framework up above. It's going to tie off on those two angle iron rails up there. All those do is support the garage door opener. They really don't have any tensile on them other than the weight of the garage door opener itself. Garage door pushes against the wall and slides the door up this black square tube track, rectangular tube, and pulls the door up. Then it lets weight bring it down. If you notice, the door is balanced. In other words, if I set it halfway open, it stays there. That means that the weight is balanced so that when it's up on the track, it's going to reach that position and stay there so that the door opener doesn't have to do a whole lot of work. Right now it's at neutral. So once the garage door gets it, or once the opener gets it up off the floor, all the weight starts getting transferred to the upper rail so that the opener doesn't have to pull it. Now this is a Chamberlain garage door opener. It's a part number B4603T, which means it's got Wi-Fi connectivity, so I can open the garage door from anywhere in the world. I can call home and say open the garage door. Unless I have a camera on the door, I won't know that the door is open. I also won't know what it's closing on. So I'll get a signal saying it reached its point and stopped, I believe, but I have to look at the app. There's still a lot more to learn about this garage door opener. Big thing I wanted was one big enough to handle a 16-foot by 8-foot garage door, get it up into the opening position, and then be able to close it. That was the nice part. This was an anniversary present my wife gave me last year in December. So I'm gonna put it up and get it going and be happy with it. Well, I'm happy with it already. So first thing I have to do is I have to assemble this rail. And what it says to do is have a flat spot so that I can assemble the rail. So these little notches click into that opening on the rail and then lock it in place. So I'm going to have to set it on something so that I can control the position and have it work. Having two workmates to work from makes it handy. The way I'm going to assemble them, I'm going to take my big wood mallet and drive this down. And there we go. It's all assembled. There's a screwdriver hole here and one here. Now why is there a screwdriver hole there? But when you put the track on and put the trolley on, you want to be able to lock that trolley into position. So they put a hole in the tube. And I would imagine they have one die that punches all these things at the same time. So all of them have that little screwdriver hole in them. That way they don't have to worry about whether it's the end one or the other one. You know, they all work the same. Interchangeable. Thing I want to do is have the screwdriver holes on the same side, just because I think it's a better way to do it. So line up those screwdriver holes. Tap them into position. Then this one requires a certain amount of finesse and assemble. I'm going to assemble the tube by driving this in there with a mallet. And that should take care of this whole thing and have this part of the assembly done. There. And this is all in the work instructions. This piece attaches to this. This dimple over here captures the side. The hole in the side of the tube, the hole in the side of this U channel, captures this little stop here and keeps the thing from coming apart. But this is always going to be compressed. It's never going to be pulled on. It's never going to be trying to yank this thing off. So it is a self-sufficient little piece of equipment. It does not want to come apart the wrong way. So I have to take these bolts out and assemble this onto that. Okay, I have a set of work instructions. This is a Chamberlain easy step-by-step interactive 3D instructions, and you can find this at BILT Intelligent Instructions. I found it on a site called Discount, and I didn't have to pay for that. I didn't have to sign up for an app. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do is go to the website, look at it, and print it out. I'd rather not load an app if I don't have to. I probably will before I'm done. But that's not the fun part for me. The fun part for me is assembling the thing and having it work. So I have a bag of hardware here. And in this hardware, I'm expecting to see a quarter 20 bolt. Lydia likes having a dinner that she can heat up in the microwave and eat for lunch. Mostly because she's been laid up for a while and I've been doing the cooking. And she can say, okay, I like these and I don't like those. So she gets a meal that she likes for dinner. This has got a square head on the bolt, so I'm using the nut rounder. There, good and snug. I don't want to warp the tube. but it's in there solid, won't come rattling out. Now I need to take these bolts out. Now it says not to use power tools on these, and I can see why. These are extruded screw holes. In other words, they punched them and then they extruded the metal to make a little flange on the inside of this steel plate. So this steel plate is soft. It's just dead soft stuff. That's what they needed in order to do an extruded hole like that. So it's not very tough. If you go yanking on that screw and tightening it down too tight, it's going to strip out. So let's see. I need something that's going to come in here and support this box beam like so, about that high off the table. So I need a box about that high. Do I have one? Yeah, I have one back there. Now I think this assembly is going to require chapters. Because man, if I had to scan through an hour of me putting this thing together, so when I make this video, I will put chapters, which I don't normally do. I found it was a whole lot of work and most people didn't use them. They watch the video, they go, I got it, and then they start making things and come back later and say, I didn't get it, and do their best to make it happen. Okay, there's that. Doesn't much matter which way I go on this. I'm probably going to just make angles that'll go up and attach to the rafters. You know, I've got that cross rails up there, and I'll just cut a couple of short pieces of angle iron and drill them out so I can attach them to this, rather than trying to use that one hole strap, which looks like I don't have enough out of that one piece, and I probably used some of it to make the supports for the door itself, because this is part of the door assembly, and this is the piece of angle that they give me that came with the door opener. That angle is pretty flimsy stuff. Now, like I said, all this does is hang from that rafter up there. All this angle iron is going to have to do is support the garage door opener. But I worked maintenance for a number of years, and I found that the more time I put into it in the beginning, the less time I have to spend fixing it later. I skipped a page. I'm supposed to assemble the trolley on there. This is the trolley. This is what slides back and forth on the track, on this track. So I'm going to slide this over the tube. This has to hang down like that. This little flange here is going to be on this side of the rail. it down the beam. So it's up here. And drop the screwdriver into the beam like that. That way this can't get away from you, come down this way and get into trouble. This is the cover protector. That stops this from getting up here and whacking into that cover. I have the trolley on, cover bolt in, screwdriver in place. This is sitting on the frame just like it's supposed to. That rain's rather loud. I might have to do this as a voiceover later, so I will be talking loudly. You'll see my mouth moving, but it's not going to be anything to do with you. Because it's too loud in the building with the rain coming down. I'm going to install the idler pulley. Now because I'm working with an 8-foot door, I have the extension kit. The extension kit is packaged in a separate box. So this doesn't look like what you're probably going to be seeing if you've got a 7-foot door. I have an 8-foot door, therefore I have an assembly that lets me build an 8-foot garage door. There's a hole in the rail right here. One on this side, one on that side. There's 2 pull holes. A larger one up on the top, smaller one on the bottom. Make sure you have it oriented like that when you put this together. It says to take 12 inches of the belt and thread it through this hole. When we talk about using the hooked end. On my left is the hooked end, and on my right is the bolt end. We want the hooked end. We pass it through, and what I want to end up with is I want to have the teeth on the belt facing that way. Now this is the idler pulley, and it has a bushing in it. No, actually it doesn't. There's no room for a bushing. So I'm going to take and put this idler pulley through the side of the window so that it engages the belt. I'm going to put the nut and the lock washer on the bottom. Tighten that up snugly. Now you're not going to crush the tube because that's a shoulder bolt. It has a neck on it so that the nut can only go just so far. Now I'm going to take this little tab here and bend it up. Not wanting to cooperate, so I end up improvising. There. Bent that tab up. Now I'm going to install the belt. So I pull the belt through, making sure that the rib side is towards the pulley. And I connect the hook in, making sure that I have the rib side toward the pulley. I connect the hook in into the trowel. And there we're hooked. With the trolley against the screwdriver, dispense the remainder of the belt along the rail length toward the motor unit and around the sprocket. Sprocket teeth must engage the belt. This is important. Spring trolley nut must be finger tight. Spring must be released to snap nut ring against the trolley. This bolt is what the belt mounts to. It has a flat side. That way when you're tightening up the screw, you can't accidentally twist this and put a twist in the belt. Good design. They don't mention that in the in the manual, but it has to be that way. You have to have this facing that direction, and this flat spot on the thread must be on the opposite side of the gear teeth or the belt teeth. So let's put the master link in. May recommend putting the master link on this direction. So the master link starts on the side opposite the teeth, goes through, and the bolt gets attached to the other side. Remember, you want to keep the flat side on the side opposite the gear teeth on the belt. Then just lift the plate on the master link, and the master link slips over the notches. The little keeper slips over the notches, and then gets lifted up over the pin, and it snaps on, just like that. Now with everything drawn up, I slide that in there, take up the slack. I'm not going to take up all the slack, but I'm going to take up as much slack as I can. And I'm going to spin this on. Now that assembled, I'm going to tighten the belt. By hand, thread the spring trolley nut on the threaded shaft until it is finger tight against the trolley. Do not use any kind of tool. Remove the screwdriver. Now, finger tight is always a relative term. Your grandma's not going to have it anywhere near as tight as you are. Of course, if you're a grandma yourself, perhaps they might. Who knows? In any case, there's. It's up snug. Things seem to be lined up where they're supposed to be. Now it says Remove the screwdriver. Insert a flathead screwdriver tip into the nut ring slot and brace it firmly against the trolley. Okay. Straight that screwdriver against the nut ring slots. Tighten the spring trolley nut with an adjustable wrench or a 7/16 opening wrench about a quarter turn until the spring releases and snaps the nut against the trolley. This sets the spring to optimum belt tension. So now, it's annoying. There we go. Tighten about a quarter turn until the spring releases. That pulls the belt up tight. Everything's snug. I was a little concerned about that whole process. I thought that's kind of a weird way to do it. What we did, by putting a screwdriver this little screwdriver into this notch, I was able to lock that inner rail, and then tightening this a quarter turn took it off the thread that held the spring in place. And that popped this loose, pulled the bolt through, and let it put some tension on the belt. I think we're good. Okay. Now, install the sprocket cover. What is the sprocket cover? This little piece of plastic here. Ah, there's screws in the cover here. That's great. Looking for the screws. What does it say? It says, position the sprocket cover over the sprocket as shown and fasten the mounting plate with number 8 by 3/8 screws provided. You have new finished assembly. You have now finished assembling your garage door opener. Please read the following warnings before proceeding to the installation section. Okay, the assembly is not too bad. I'm going to loosen these screws up because they don't mention that in the work instructions. They probably assume you know to do that. Assuming always puts ass ahead of you and me. And that's confusing reigns supreme. Once again, don't use power tools. Power tools probably would work if you had some kind of a torque setting on this power tool, but you don't know what the torque setting is, because in order to establish the torque setting, you have to go through and strip out a whole bunch of holes. I know, I did that. That's one of the engineering tasks that I did when I was assembling door panels. Find out what it takes to strip out a screw, and you make the torque setting lower than that. And I broke a whole lot of 1/4 inch bolts. Turns out that a number 8 1/4 inch bolt hex head cap screw can handle 14 foot-pounds at the max. Usually breaks about 13. So, to prevent having somebody on the assembly line inadvertently breaking off bolts, which were a real pain in the neck to get out, I set the torque tools to only go to 10. Because there was somebody on an assembly line that was going to take that bolt out. Then they were going to put a shim behind the cover and have the assembly done. And if, like some people were fond of doing, if you tighten the thing up to 13 foot-pounds, chances are it was going to snap. And if it didn't, it was going to be real close to snapping. So when they put the bolt in, down there at their assembly line, the bolt would break off. And we'd say, well, you know, it's not our problem, you broke the bolt. Actually, by changing the process on our end, we were able to help alleviate a problem on their end. They were the customer. We never told them, oh, that's your problem, deal with it. We fixed it. Found what the problem was, installed torque limiting bolts, or torque limiting bolt drivers. And then we went one step beyond. When we bought the torque setting bolt drivers, we put in a system that recorded all the torques, every torque that wrench ever did. Went up to the control system, and controls made note of what the torque was, and you could tell, okay, these bolts were all torqued correctly. Everything that went off of this line, off of that wrench, was torqued correctly. Solved a lot of problems. Okay. You have now finished assembling your garage door opener.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.